Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'll be talking about the top 5 most difficult Scrum Master interview questions, and I'll jump right into it. The first one is, how do you coach your team and the organization on adopting the framework? Now, this is a very difficult question, and many companies and interviewers like to ask this question because in the reality of things, they're in a situation whereby, some parts of the organization or even some parts of management, some people in senior leadership, they are still following the traditional waterfall project management approach, and they're not really convinced about the agile methodology or the Scrum framework. So interviewers like to ask this question to see how you can move them forward. And the first thing I do when trying to answer this question is to also let them know that not all projects should follow the Scrum framework. It has to be able to meet the criteria of, it has to be able to meet the criteria so to adopt the Scrum framework, because you need to be able to see benefits from using the Scrum framework. So you're not just going to use it because everybody is using the Scrum framework, right? There has to be some benefits from doing that. So first of all, that's the first thing I like to tell the interviewers, like, not all projects have to, use the agile methodology or the Scrum framework. We have to be able to realize some benefits from using the Scrum framework. After we've reviewed the projects and we've all agreed that the Scrum framework is the right approach in delivering this project, what I would do as a new Scrum Master is, for example, if I'm assigned 3 teams, I would have a meeting with these team members and the stakeholders especially to kind of understand what their issues are and, what they're hoping will be resolved. So, for example, if maybe the stakeholders are complaining that they don't have the opportunity to, give feedback on what has been created, or they might say that, or the developers or the team members might say, we don't have the opportunity to showcase what we have done, and it seems like we have built so much before we can get any feedback. I can start by introducing the sprint review, probably bi-weekly. And when I'm speaking to the team, I'm letting them know that, we're experimenting. I'm coaching them on the agile methodologies, coaching them on the Scrum framework, letting them know that we're experimenting, we're trying things out. I think this is a better way to, allow people to want to try new things, as opposed to telling them that this is how we're going to do it and this is what should be done at all times. So I'll tell them that we're experimenting. So we can start with 2 weeks, or it might be that, is 1 week. So we might have this, we'll start with the sprint review session in this kind of situation, because I'm trying to address that situation whereby people are not getting feedback as soon as, features are being created. So gradually I will start, introducing other Scrum ceremonies and, highlighting the benefits we're getting from all of this, and also showing them how their issues are being resolved with some of the kind of framework structure that we're putting into place. I will also coach them on the agile values and the Scrum values as well, and continue to coach the team. It's a gradual process. Continue to coach the team, and once I've been able to achieve it with one team, my expectation is that the other teams will see the benefit from one of the teams, and then I can easily translate it to other teams. So that's how I'll go about it. First of all, I will let them know that not all projects should automatically follow the Scrum framework. It has to meet the criteria, and the benefits of using the Scrum framework has to be realized from adopting that framework. And also, I would start with one team and gradually start to introduce things, as opposed to introducing everything at the same time. Gradually start to introduce things. And number 3, I would continue to highlight the benefits of what we're doing and let it translate to other teams and even the organization. And I'll continue to coach the teams and the organization on adopting the Scrum framework. So this is how I'll go about answering that question, and this is the third process I would use while answering that question. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and like and comment on this post if you have found it helpful so far. That way, it lets me know that someone's actually enjoying this and or actually needs this information. You can drop a thumbs up, or a simple comment would be really good. Thank you. The next difficult question is, tell me about yourself. And this is a difficult question because it sets the tone for the rest of the interview. I've done a detailed video on all you need to excel and answer this question perfectly. And I've linked it right here. go and watch it to get all the details you need. You need to review the job description. You need to review what they're actually looking for, and make sure you highlight that in your response. I've divided this response into different sections in this video, so go and watch it to get all the details you need to excel and answer this question perfectly. One other difficult Scrum Master interview question is, how do you coach your product owners? Now, the company or the interviewers usually ask this question because in some cases, the product owners might not even know about the Scrum framework. They might just select someone in the business that has a good understanding of the project or the product, and then put that person in that role as a product owner. And it's also one of your duties as a Scrum Master to coach the teams as well as the product owner on his or her responsibilities. So there are different things you will coach the product owner on. First of all, I will start with the Scrum framework, coaching the product owner on Scrum, on the Scrum ceremonies, who's in charge or who is invited to any of these ceremonies, and just coaching them on the Scrum values, agile values, and things like that. So yes, coaching the product owner on all of this, and it's very important you do this in order to make your work easier, and for them to also have an understanding of the purpose of doing any of the Scrum ceremonies, and to have, so that things are easier, right? And it's easier to also communicate to the business in case they're asked that question as well. Another thing you will coach the product owner on is on the backlog prioritization. You let them know that they own the backlog. Yes, so all the requests should go through that backlog, and how to prioritize them, coaching them on reaching out to the stakeholders and to the business on the priority of things and what they're hoping to achieve, and then for us to work as a team to to properly prioritize these user stories or work items. In some companies, they might have like training allocations for the product owner to go and get probably a certified product owner certification, but in other companies they might not have that allocation. So even as a Scrum Master, you might need to coach them on this Scrum framework, and they also need to do their research so that they are well-rounded for that particular position. So you're coaching them on the backlog prioritization. You're ensuring that they understand how user stories should be written, and for them to include the acceptance criteria and everything that is needed for the development team to be able to pick up those tickets, have a good understanding of them, for them to even gather, for the product owners to also gather as much information as they can on each user story, so that when they're asked questions, they can answer those questions. So these are the things that you're coaching the product owner and you're telling him or her to know more about. As a Scrum Master, you're also coaching the product owner on setting expectations with the business. For example, you're letting them know that when there are new features or when there's a new project, it should actually go through the product owner, as opposed to as opposed to one of the stakeholders speaking to the developer that they need a new feature and they should work on it. No, all of this should go through the product owner. The product owner is in charge of the backlog and is responsible for prioritizing the work that will be taken into any particular sprint. So all the requests, all the new features, bugs, and whatever concerns that need to be addressed by the development team should all go through the product owner. Also, you're coaching the product owner on setting expectations with the business. The product owner has to inform the business on how the Scrum ceremonies are done, that we have a backlog refinement session, and this is where we review stories that will be taken into the upcoming sprint. Now, if you want to learn more about the different Scrum ceremonies, I have a link here, and it explains the purpose of everything, the role the product owner plays, and all of that. So you can watch that video to get more information. So you're also coaching the product owner to let the business know about the flow of things, so that they can gather all their requirements prior to the backlog refinement session, and the development team can discuss and prepare for the next sprint. Another thing that is very important as a Scrum Master to coach the product owner on is working together. For the Scrum Master and the product owner to work together with the team. You realize that teams where the product owner and the Scrum Master are not on the same page, those kind of teams are usually very chaotic because the product owner is taking them in one direction, the Scrum Master is taking them in another direction. So I advise that you set up like weekly meetings to discuss any new things, any new changes that might be coming up, or new announcements in the development team, so that both of you are on the same page and you can carry the team in the same direction. So these are all the things I will include when asked that question, how I will coach my product owner. The next difficult interview question is, how do you go about your Scrum ceremonies? Now, there are a lot of Scrum ceremonies and they want to understand if you understand, the Scrum ceremonies, the purpose of the Scrum ceremonies, when you do the Scrum ceremonies. Some people even want to understand how long you do the Scrum ceremonies. And if you want to get all the information you need to answer that question properly in an interview setting, I also have a very detailed video on this. This is very important because this is an interview question that comes up most of the time, and you need to be able to have the right answers to excel in that interview question. So check out the video here. Like I said earlier, I've linked that up here to get more information on how to answer that Scrum interview question. The next and the final interview question is, how do you handle spillover stories? How do you handle stories being carried over multiple sprints? Now, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button and like and comment on this video if you find it helpful. A thumbs up is great on the comment section, or comments just showing that you found this helpful is really encouraging. So please do so. So back to the question, how do I manage spillover stories? The interviewer or the company, they're trying to find out if you're able to address this kind of situation, because many teams are facing this challenge. So if I'm asked this question, the first thing I would do and first thing I would say is that I try to find out the root cause of the problem. Why are we even having storage spillover? This is something I would like to address. And there are so many reasons that can come up for having spillover stories. One of it could be that the developer or the person working on that particular story does not have enough knowledge. They're not just skilled enough. And these are the things that hopefully should be addressed before the story is even brought into the sprint, because before you estimate the stories, everybody should have an understanding of what is required to develop this particular story. So this is just one of the reasons of why we might be having spillover stories. The next reason could be that the story is just too large. For example, you as a team, you know that it takes you about 2 sprints to complete a 13 story point story, but you bring that ticket into 1 sprint. That's all already setting yourself up for failure, because you know that it won't be achieved in that particular sprint. So it's a situation whereby even you as a Scrum Master, you have to coach the teams on splitting the stories so that you have, little chunks, and you can develop and test and complete that story within a particular sprint. So you have many teams working like this, bringing in large stories into a particular sprint without splitting it into, little chunks. I think that's one of the reasons why you would also have spillover stories, and this should be addressed even before the sprint is started. All the stories should be looked at in the sprint planning session, ensure that it's split into, reasonable chunks to enable the development team complete that particular story within a sprint. Another reason could be that the requirements are not clear, or they might be changing requirements. Maybe additional things have been added during that particular sprint. So when I'm answering this question, like I said, I always try to find out the root cause. And this shows initiative, that I'm taking initiative as a Scrum Master to encourage the team to find out the root cause, and then we address it based on that. So we're gathering those lessons learned, and then we're implementing it in our subsequent sprint. And this is how I'll go about answering this difficult Scrum Master interview questions. If you want to find more details about becoming a Scrum Master with no experience, I have a video here. And if you want to find out about the reasons why many Scrum Masters are finding it difficult getting a job, I've also attached another video here. Like, comment, and subscribe to get more useful tips.